Good morning, everyone. Hello, my name is Jason Poon. I'm one of the people who's running the Fighter Design Challenge this year. And today we're going to be going over how to take off an X-plane. So here is the, sorry, T-38. Now the T-38 was the aircraft you guys voted for your favorite trainer. So we're going to use it for most of the introductory lessons. And then later we're going to use the F-14. You guys voted for the F-22, but the F-22 is very difficult to learn on, so we're going to use the F-14 since it was the second most voted for aircraft. Um, that is easy to learn on. All right, so here's the inside of the T-38. There are a couple of things you're going to be you want to be aware of. Um, First of all, your sorry, your airspeed is down here. You're going to want to be aware of that. Altitude's over here. And then you have a couple of other backup instruments over here, but right now we're just going to be focusing on the airspeed and the altitude and also your pitch right there. So with that, we have a couple of things we want to go over. One is where to set your flaps when you're taking off. So first, while setting your flaps all the way as far down as they can go, like this, will give you the most lift. It will also slow you down a lot whenever you're getting off the ground. So this is going to be something you want to do on a very short runway. Much shorter than Innsbruck, actually, probably something you'd never actually want to land or take off at. And the reason for this is the reason you don't want to set them this low is because this creates a lot of drag. And whenever you have that drag, it'll slow you down. So whenever you get into the air, you're actually at a risk of stalling because you're going that slow. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to set your flaps. Normally, I don't have the manual for the T-38, so I don't know what it actually is. But just as a rule of thumb, I'd use half flaps for this, or halfway down as far as you can go. And then from there, you're going to want to increase your throttle. Um, and then again, and then in the T-38, you have afterburners, and you're just going to wait for your engines to get to their full RPM. And then after that, brakes go off. And depending on the aircraft you're flying, it may try to veer to one side of the rudder because of the torque um, inside the engines. Usually with two-engine aircraft, they're countered, so they're spinning in opposite directions, so that's not an issue. But you just want to be aware of that. Use your rudder to align yourself on the runway. And then at 160 knots, rotate. Positive rate of climb, you can see that on your altitude indicator, and gear up. All right, cool. And then once you reach about 200 knots, you're going to want to start bringing those flaps up. You'll notice that your nose pitches down a bit. That's just because you don't have as much lift. You can change that by adding a bit more stick. If you don't have a stick, you'll have a little box up here in the front with a crosshair on it. You're just going to want to click that and move your mouse around, and it's pretty self-explanatory from there. Don't try to correct for rudder on the runway, at least not in an extreme way, because the rudder directly affects the ailerons with that box. So that could cause you to flip your aircraft over. Other than that, that's how you take off in the T-38. Um, that's just a normal takeoff. And from there, we can play that back, and I'll just quickly go over all the things we want to look for. So when you're landing, it's helpful to look at your aircraft from the outside after you're done landing. Always fly from inside the cockpit. Excuse me. And but whenever you're taking off, it's not as important unless you know you did a tail strike, which isn't great, but let's hope you didn't. And that mainly won't happen unless you're trying to do a minimum unstick takeoff. All right, so here we see that my engine reaches maximum RPM, and that is good. That's what we want to look for. And then we start our roll because we took off our brakes. And then from there, we're just going to wait for this, our airspeed to reach 160 knots, I believe. Yes, that sounds right. And at that point, we're going to pull back on our stick or bring the mouse down, like you see I did there, to rotate the aircraft. Then you can see here, this is a really tiny pitch indicator, so that's not the best, but you can see we brought it up about 5 degrees, and then we waited for a positive rate of climb, and then once we got that, we brought our gear up. And then from there, we brought up our flaps, and now we're in the air. All right, so next video is going to be about landing the T-38. I'm going to have a couple of visual aids to help you guys understand some concepts. And also, if you have any questions or comments about the video, please let me know, email me, things like that, just or bring them up during the next meeting so that we're aware of either things you don't know, things I forgot to mention, or mistakes I possibly made, so we can let other people know that I made those mistakes so that we're not giving them false information. All right, other than that, thank you guys so much for joining us today, and have a good day. Bye.